have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. You have found the Genesis Frequency podcast with me, Dr. Cause, and in fact, Dr. Stephen J. Cosmina, getting to the root cause of what's showing up in our lives as our results. And this is for individuals, small business owners, and those in the corporate environment. I was looking back at paradigms and when the last time I took a deep dive into paradigms, and I was really blown away to see that two episodes I did on paradigms. One was 2021, one was 2022. So I think that it's really time to revisit this. I didn't listen to those. I just saw that it's been that long. Remember you can go to the website, thegenesisfrequency.com, and click on episodes, then use the search feature to type in any personal development topic or term you can think of. And I've probably spoken about it or around it on one of the podcast episodes over the last almost 6 years. So use that feature and know that there is tremendous value here, even though you do not pay for this. So what are we doing right now? Well, we talked about the last couple episodes. We talked about moving in and being in the energy of what we want to experience. We're going to go back to cause because we do live in a cause and effect universe, and we look at what's showing up in our lives. And this is so important, probably the most important lesson that I teach in any program that I do. And this is valid whether you're just working on you and something for you in your life, something that you want to experience, your big dream goal, or in your corporate environment. It is as valid in the corporate environment, even more so when we talk about paradigms. What are paradigms? Paradigms are a multitude of habits that have almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior is indeed habitual. So we find that so many, when they want to change the results, and they got a little bit of a grasp on this, how things work, how we're wired, how things show up, they say, well, we got to change at the level of behavior. And that's true. And that's one of the things I talk about when I talk about the programs I have available in leadership as a leadership management international franchisee. When I talk to corporations, we make a difference because we change at the level of behavior. We change what people do, but we have to go back of that, right? We have to go back to the paradigm because the behavior, while it is a cause of the results that are showing up, what is causing the behavior? What is causing the repetitive behavior? And it is the habit. It is the paradigm. Remember, paradigm is that framework, the basic assumptions and ways of thinking and methodologies that are deeply ingrained, the habits that we all participate in a daily basis. This is responsible for the knowing doing gap. So many of us know a tremendous amount of information, or we have possession of somewhere in that inner storage filing cabinet a tremendous amount of information, but we're not actually doing all that we know we should be doing, or doing what we know. And we have to unlock that. So we're taking this deeper dive into paradigms, and we're going to take a good solid look at this so we can get to work on them. It's not enough just to know what a paradigm is. I mean, you can memorize that as I have. A paradigm is a multitude of habits that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, knowing that all of our behavior is habitual, almost all of it. So that's not enough, though. I- it's this mass of information that is programmed within each of us, and programmed deep into an individual subconscious mind. And we get these paradigms in a multitude of ways. We get it uh, genetically, really through our DNA at the moment of conception, and then from our environment after birth. We're born into an environment, and this information that we take in forms behavior patterns, forms habits, forms things we do over and over. We have this basis. That's why they speak the English, the language that we speak, whatever language that is, as your primary language, because you were conditioned to do it. You were born and raised in a household that spoke that language. We could take an infant from a family in New York City, for instance, in the United States, and place that baby in a suburb of Beijing, China, and that baby would grow up speaking fluent Chinese with no knowledge, unless it was intended, of the English language. So that's how powerful our minds are. And then that ingrained that ingrained environmental conditions, and those patterns that we take in become habitual ways we think. And this is where we adopt some of those early beliefs that may not even be true for us. But we develop these habits. Now, on the in the corporate realm of things, we call this the corporate paradigms, the corporate habit. We call that culture. And when we can, the bottom line, and the reason this is so important, why we spend so much time on it, is when we can get to the paradigm and identify the ones that are producing the results that we don't want, we can get to work on changing those. Paradigms can be positive or negative, and whatever they are, they have an enormous influence over our conscious faculties. How many times have you heard in the work environment, oh, we're doing it that way because that's the way it's always been done, and we're going to keep doing it that way. That's what everybody's used to. That's what they do, and that's what's showing up. But they might say that and have that attitude, but they do not like the results that are showing up. So you have to change something. Well, we got to change at the level of behavior. I learned that in my last class I took. Yes, you do. You have to change it at the level of behavior. But what's causing the behavior? The behavior is caused by the paradigm. So we're going back to first cause. Now, just knowing this, I said earlier, is not enough. It doesn't mean that you're going to change them just because you know what it is. This is the hard part. And generally, it is really suggested that you work on only one paradigm at a time. But now I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I want to talk a little bit more about paradigms, but generally we do. We work on one at a time. We have to look at the results that are showing up that we don't want to experience and saying, why am I getting that? And then look at our habitual behavior. What is the habit that I'm participating in a regular basis that is producing the results that are showing up in my field of experience? And then identify that, and then go back to, all right, why what is it about me? Why am I participating in that habit over and over again if I don't like the results that are showing up? Because what people tend to do, and you've heard it said a number of ways, that they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results. And that's really the definition of insanity. So we have to change the paradigm. We have to change the paradigm if it's a negative paradigm that is producing unwanted results. We have to change the paradigm in the company if we want to alter the culture. We have to change the paradigms in the individual if we want to impact performance and productivity. We have to change our paradigms in our own lives if we just do not like the results that are showing up. So, this is all the work that we really have to do when it comes to making those leaps in the direction of goal achievement. We want to experience something more than we have experienced before. So we've identified the goal, right? We've stepped into, if you're listening to this podcast, we've stepped into and claimed our power by being aware that we have a choice, by making the decision to move in a direction, by setting the intention to do so and making a commitment to that direction and intention. So we've done all this, and maybe we've done this before, but here's where so many people, so many companies stumble. They don't look at the habitual behavior, because you can motivate and get somebody, get yourself even. Let's look at those New Year's Eve resolutions, right? We can start out with good intentions. We can start out with grand ideas. We can start out with a list of beautiful goals for the new year. We can have corporate goals that just, man, this is going to get us there. All we got to do is accomplish these. But what we're doing is we're solely focused on the effect rather than addressing the cause. So we have to change the habitual behavior. Hopefully I've drilled that in enough so that you get it. If it's the paradigm that attracts the conditions and circumstances that contribute to the problem. It's not what you know, it's the habit. So what I would suggest as we get going here, talking about paradigms, and we're going to talk about this probably over the next few shows, a few episodes, that really push back and identify, and I'll share with you today how we're going to do that. Really identify what those habits are. Again, it's not enough to know what a paradigm is. You have to know what your individual paradigms are. If you're working on this in the corporate, you're taking on this task of doing this in a corporate environment so you can alter the culture, which is a good thing to do, by the way, to frequently look at habit, habit, group paradigm. If you're going to do this, you're really going to push back and identify those habits. And the thing is, when we identify them, we get to work on one at a time. Because most people will say, "Oh yeah, paradigms. I know all about paradigms," but they don't really do anything about their habitual behavior. So what is it? And one way that we can take a look at what those habits are is by looking at our activities throughout the day and identifying those activities that are productive and identifying those activities that are non-productive. So if we were to look at our goal, our corporate goals or our individual goals, our personal goals, or for our small business, whatever it may be, What are the habits? What are the habitual things I do on a daily basis? What is the activity that I'm doing day in and day out or every week? Maybe it's a monthly habit. And we identify that, say, you know what, I could be a lot more productive and every day I could move closer to my goal if I didn't engage in this non-productive activity, which is, and it can be any number of things, just from scrolling or checking email too often to letting your mind wander to whatever it may be. Everybody's got paradigms of some sort, some sort of ingrained habitual behavior. So we got to identify that. What is it? So that's really your homework, to identify those activities that you participate in on a regular basis. And now you're getting to work on identifying your paradigms. And that's why I spend so much time when I talk about beliefs, because here's one thing that you have to know: we have paradigms of thought, right? We're we have the habit of thinking the same thoughts over and over again. You hear me say it all the time. We think 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. But get this, most of those thoughts that we think, those 40 to 60,000 thoughts that we think every day, most of those are the same thoughts we thought yesterday. Talk about habitual behavior. So we have habit of thought. What are your habits of thought? So when you do this work, it is work. It is something that you really have to set the intention and set aside some time to get to work on. So we have habits of thought. We have habits of word speak, word tracks that we say outwardly and that we speak inwardly, because we're in a inner dialogue with ourselves all day long. And in the course of our day with other people. So, what are our habitual words? We might have some good intentions, some grand goals, and we've been studying personal development for a long time, but we always get stuck here because we don't realize that we got these great thoughts and we do our study time, we're doing our journaling, and we're writing out affirmations of what we want to experience in the positive present affirmative present tense. But then we step out in the world and we're speaking different words. We have the habit of speaking. Somebody saying, "How you doing?" "Oh, today," though, you hear it all the time. Some people by rote will say, "Oh, if I'm any better, I'd be twins," or they say, "Yeah, it's another day. It sucks, doesn't it?" Even though we want something different. Habit of speech, habit of our words, internally and externally. So know this. And then we have habits of action, which is generally, we talk about that as our behavior. What is our habitual way of acting, taking action through the day? So look at these things when it comes to action. What do? Do I fire up, fire up everything on my desk in the morning, and do I habitually push back and say, "Hey, I can get away with just sipping on coffee for a half an hour"? That's habitual behavior. That's productive time lost, but we've gotten the habit of it. We don't think about it at all. And that's the sneaky part about paradigms, these habitual behaviors. We're running on autopilot. We don't really even notice them sometimes. How many times have you driven to, maybe you've driven to the office or driven to work, and you do it day in and day out, and you promise that you're going to stop, pick up the drive cleaning, go to the bank, and get some milk on the way home or whatever it is. And you are absorbed in thought. You have the habit of thinking that you are just tuned out. You drive right by the cleaners, right by the bank, right by the grocery store, and don't even think about it. We've all done it. Habitual thoughts, words, and actions. Get to identify them, and then you ask why. You even go back a little bit further. I have this habit. Okay, this action I always participate in. Why do I do that? Well, I started doing it. Now that I think about it, I've done it. I've been doing it for years. Well, why have you been doing it for years? I just settled into it. So we're starting to go deeper, and we need to go deeper. And we do this at the same way at the corporate level. What's showing up? Why is it showing up? We're not going to change anything by kicking around the results that are showing up. We got to go back of that. What's back of the results? Well, the behavior is the back of the results. So in the corporate world, it's the group behavior, the behavior of teams and how they interact in the organization. Well, what's causing the behavior that's producing the results? Well, it's the paradigm. And groups have paradigms. Groups have, somebody gets hired and they're trained. This is the way we've always done it. This is the way we do it here. Why? I don't know. Don't question it. It's the company's way, and this is. But if you are a team leader or on the executive team and you know that the culture is just in shambles and it's got to be changed, this is the work that you got to do. And we can talk more about it. I encourage you to reach out and get involved in some of the things that I can offer you. And we can have a conversation about that, not here. Successappointment.com. Reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. And this is for individuals, small businesses, and corporation. I'd love to work with you on this because this is the stumbling point for just about everyone I speak with, whether it's an individual or in a corporate environment. They can identify, or I should say, define what a paradigm is, and then they get to work. But what happens? The habits are so strong because we are all creatures of habits. That's what happens. We start with good intentions. That's why resolutions, everybody makes jokes about New Year's resolutions at the beginning of year. Why do they fall away? Because we are creatures of habit. We are creatures of habit in our professional life and in our personal life. If you want to change the results that are showing up for you, you have to identify and change the paradigms. You have to change the habitual behavior. There is no other way. We're going to talk about this moving forward. We're out of time for today. Do that. Start on this now. Start working on identifying what your paradigms are. What is your habitual behavior day in and day out? Take a look at that. Start making your list of productive activities and non productive activities that you participate in on a regular basis. Do that, and we're going to pick up here next time we get together in the next episode. But reach out. Let's talk about this. Let's get you going. We've been talking about it long enough. If you are someone that has not reached out to me yet, probably time to do so, because these habitual habits that you're engaged in every day, if you haven't nailed them and made a change, then you're probably experiencing the same thing, the same results that, hey, if you're a longtime listener, the same results that were showing up 5 years ago. You just didn't do anything because you're not in the habit of picking up the phone. Paradigms, by the way, and you can talk to many experts on this. Paradigms and habitual behavior are best changed with somebody working with you, somebody that you're accountable to, whether you call it a coach, consultant, or mentor. That would be me. But your change is much more effective, efficient, and long lasting when you're working with somebody. So just know that if you stumble here and you go back to the same thing and you get stuck in the same place, we can always point to the paradigm. Let me help you with that. Successappointment.com. Stephen, Stephen, at successocean.com is the email. That's going to do it. That's going to do it for today. Love talking about paradigms. We'll continue here next week. So thanks for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. I look forward to speaking with you. For now, that's going to do it. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen Shea Kusmina, and I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.